Hi guys, Jess here. I'm going to show you today how I make my dill pickles, my cucumber dill pickles. Now I don't do any soaking prior to bottling because I make mine in spears. As you can see, I've already cut the spears up, and I find that if I put them in salt, too much salt gets into them. And I like to keep mine fresh and vibrant, the same as I do with all of my stuff. It's a kind of theme that runs through everything I do. Keep it as fresh as possible. So what I do to try and keep them crisp is I increase the amount of vinegar slightly to most people, and I proof them at the end. And I'll show you what I mean by proofing. But first of all, I want to show you my pickle vinegar mix. It's pretty simple, and you can throw in pretty much anything you like, but I'll show you what I use. I start off with some plain white vinegar, and I'm only going to show you one pot today, just show you putting together and pickling one jar, so I'm not going to make a great deal. So I'm going to have, but I will keep this, if there's any pickling spice or liquid left over, I'll just keep it in the fridge and use it, to pickle again afterwards. So I have half a litre of white vinegar. Actually, I'm not going to need that much just for one jar. Let's do, because it's 50-50, so I'll have a third of a litre of vinegar, but basically, however much you need, whatever volume it is, I do 50-50 vinegar and water. So I'll have half a litre of water in there. A third of a litre of water. So it's a third of a litre of vinegar I've got in there, and a third of a litre of water. As long as it's equal proportions, it doesn't matter how much you make. The other things that I add for spices, for flavours, are first of all allspice. Okay, that's really important. Allspice. I think that needs to go in all pickling. So for that much liquid, 4 or 5, and just. Well, there's probably a few more than that, possibly 10 there, but that's good. For more liquor, add more. You get used to what's good for you, but this is a rough guide to start with. Mustard seed, whoops. Again, small quantity in the bottom of my hand. So that's allspice, mustard seed. Now, flaked chilies. Go easy on the flake chilies. You're not going to need very much. That's going to be pretty hot. I wouldn't put that much in that much vinegar. I would just take a pinch. That's going to be more than plenty in there. Okay. A few black peppercorns. Again, just a few. Palm of my hand. A few black peppercorns. And the last one I use, coriander. Again, quite a bit of coriander. It's not that strong spice, so plenty of coriander in there. And then the other preservative that we need, of course, is salt. Always use sea salt, never ever use table salt. And for that much, which is 2/3 of a litre, I would use about half. That's going to be plenty. Okay, so that's what, half a dessert spoon. It's probably something like a full flat dessert spoon per litre of liquor will be about right. And obviously all of this is going to be written up on my blog in sensible measures. I just wanted to show you on this film just how simple it is to do this process, and how much fun you can have doing it. So we want a lid on there. That's going to go on the heat. Okay, and I'm going to bring that to the boil, and just boil it for a few minutes, just to start getting those spices infused into that vinegar water mix. And so I'm going to let that happen, and while that's happening, I'll show you the dill pickles here. I've just cut them. Here's what I've harvested myself, pretty standard pickles, and I've cut them into spears. Now I like them in spears. just because that's the way I like to eat them, I guess. Now, what I've also got here then pre-prepared is a sterilised jar. You can perhaps see my good old faithful pressure cooker behind, and I've got 2 cloves of garlic at the bottom and a sprig of dill. And all I'm going to do in here, place the jar lid down, that way down. If you hold it up, things can fall onto it and they'll end up in the jar. Place it down like that, nothing's going to fall on it as long as you place it on something clean, of course. So we just then are going to arrange our pickle spears in the jar. Tilt it slightly over to one side, make sure you've got clean hands, obviously. Tilt it over to one side and pack the jar with your spears. When you're cutting the pickle in the first place into spears, hold it up against the jar and cut it off so as you know it's going, so as they're to the length that are going to fit nicely in the jar for presentation and for, of course, maximum use of space. So keep putting them in, push them in so as they take up. Give it a jiggle, wiggle them around and try and get as many in as you possibly can. Get some facing in, some facing out, so as it looks nice, as well as you can get as many, you know, it'll help you get as many in as possible, but it'll also look pretty. Okay, that's fairly well crammed. I think I can perhaps get this thin one down the middle there. There we go, and that's it. Now that's full. And there we have a jar. I'll put the lid on temporarily. Have a jar ready to receive the pickling mix. Now what we'll do is we'll heat the pickling mix up. We'll boil it for a few moments, 5 minutes at the most, with a lid. Make sure you have a lid because the water will steam off much quicker than the vinegar. So if you leave it boiling without a lid on, you'll be concentrating the vinegar more and more and more. Make sure you have a lid on it when you boil it. Okay? What we'll do, once that's boiled, we'll pour the vinegar in there. Then we will put another sprig of dill, 2 more garlic cloves on the top, and we'll seal it up. So for the moment I will leave you because we're going to let that boil away, and I'll come back to you in a minute and I'll show you how we then fill that up, seal it down, and what we do to proof it. Okay, so I'll see you again in a few minutes, guys. Okay guys, so here we are back now, and our pickling liquor is here, and it's had about 5 minutes just boiling away, and you can, that's pretty strong stuff, and that's pretty much ready to go in our pot of pickles. I'll give you a tip here. We want to distribute, don't only want to put the pickling liquor in the jar, we also want to distribute some of the spices. If you try and pour that straight in the jar, all that will happen is you'll get the liquor and none of the actual bits, of peppercorn and so on and so forth. So a tip, sieve, pour the pickling vinegar into a measuring jug, which makes it much easier to pour it into your pickles anyway. And hey presto, you've got all of your pickles captured in the sieve. So now what you have to do is open your jar, the lid down, fill your jar up to there, get some of the pickles out of here with a spoon, put them in. Okay. Now, and if I was making a second jar, I'd leave some of them in there, obviously. But I'm only showing you one. I have still left some in there because if I put them all in, it would be too much. So we put some spices in there. Mustn't forget our 2 bits of garlic and our dill. Place that on the top. Okay. Fill completely up our vinegar right to the brim, right to the very top, and make sure all the edges of the dill are inside and on with the lid, and just use a towel to grab hold and firmly put the lid down. Now, there you have your pickles. Now what I do with these now is I proof them. And what I do is I use my faithful pressure cooker, and I put these sealed hard down because I've filled it right to the brim. There's no air in there to speak of, so you won't get any problem with expansion and cracking of the jar. That's the secret. And I put them in the pressure cooker, and I will bring them up to the pressure cooker temperature, and I'll leave them there for 1 minute, and then I'll turn them off and leave them to cool in the pressure cooker. And what that does is that proofs the pickles. It means that it sterilises everything that's inside here, so they will last a long time, and it gets the vinegar started to go into the pickles and gives them that extra kickstart so as you can eat them relatively quickly. Once these have been proofed, stored away in the cupboard, they will be ready for eating within a couple of weeks, and they will be absolutely delicious. So that's my very quick dill pickle recipe. No hassle, no mess, and it produces absolutely delicious pickles. And they will last in the cupboard, because you've done this proofing process, they'll last in the cupboard for a year, no problem at all. Okay, so that's my dill pickle recipe. Obviously you will find it on my blog site. The URL is down there at the moment. And happy pickling, guys. See ya.